All right, hey everyone. Mark here. Mark P Markets. Mark Principato, a chartered market technician. Thanks for joining me for another Bitcoin, stock market, and gold price action analysis. This is the weekly forecast, right? Today is Monday. So we want to gain some clues as to what the support and resistance levels may be, or what the reward risk may be for the coming week. So with that being said, let's get started. I know I'm running a little bit behind today. I am simulcasting on TradingView. So if you are new to the stream, make sure that you share your stock symbol or coin that you'd like me to analyze once I complete my portion of the analysis. If it's a coin, an altcoin, please put USD after it so that I know it's an altcoin. Okay, so with that being said, let's get this thing going. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. All right, now let me get this thing going here. All right, just give me a second. All right, you should be able to see my chart, and I'm going to join the picture too here in a moment. If I can get this thing working right, let's see. There we go. Okay, cool. Hey everyone, good to see you all. So I got HS, good to see you, and Elizabeth, and Alex, and the scammer. The scammer's in here. Be careful, everyone. Okay, and Boxine, welcome. All right, so also for those people that are watching on TradingView, again, please share your symbol or your market in the chat now so that I can get to it when I go through the chat portion. All right, so let's go over the economic calendar first. TradingView has its own economic calendar. I just like to use another one just for personal reasons. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to run through this very quickly. I want to see if I can get through my portion of the analysis in less than 10 minutes. I usually can't, but I'm going to try. Okay, so starting out with, let's see, what today we had some German market manufacturing PMI. Okay, these are not really, there's nothing really here. This was all earlier today. I'm not even going to mention those, okay? At 6:45 p.m. Eastern time, we have New Zealand retail sales. Not a big deal. The 25th, which is Wednesday, we have for the U.S., we have durable goods, and that's usually not a big report. Now, we also have this event, which takes place once a year, called the Jackson Hole Symposium. Okay, they always pick the fourth week or this time of year because it's usually a very slow time in the market, right? And usually volume is very light and this and that, whatever. So in the Jackson Hole Symposium, I guess it's a convention of economists or whatever. I'm sure it's really exciting. And they have the chairman, Fed Chairman Powell is going to be there, and he's going to have a speech. Okay, so any kind of surprise that may come out of the symposium can move the market, but usually they're not there to try to move the market. They're just there saying things, right? Whatever. So you just have to be aware of it. Now, typically what goes on into such an event is the volume, which is light to begin with, will get lighter, right? So not a good week to be aggressively trading, in my opinion, even though we see today it looks like an amazing day, which we're going to address here in a moment. So be aware of that. That starts on the 25th and it goes through Friday, which is the 27th, right? So it's a couple of days, and Chairman Powell speaks on Friday. So again, who knows if there are any surprises, if he hints toward anything about interest rates in the near future. The market can move in a dramatic way, and usually begins with the dollar and the bond market. So things to keep an eye on. Like I said, we're in a high risk of retrace area across the board. So you want to be prepared for such a thing. And like I said, volume will tend to get lighter and lighter as we get into such an event. And light volume is a very tough environment to make judgments within. All right, so that's the economic calendar. Besides that, I mean, there's a couple of other things here. Australia retail sales on the 26th, and we have GDP annualized also. That's on Thursday for the U.S. Those aren't going to be really a big deal, especially with Chairman Powell speaking this week. All right, so that's the economic calendar. Now, again, so TradingView people, if you're watching, now would be a good time to start sharing questions in the chat. All right, so I have the euro up here because I was looking at the euro. Let's go to Bitcoin first because we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. And so here's the story with this. If you read my analysis that I published yesterday on TradingView, I talked about the situation because we didn't have this bearish pin bar that we're seeing right now. What we had yesterday was this situation right here, these little continuation inside bar type of candles. So I saw that and I said, well, you know, we're at the 50K resistance area. It's a heavy duty resistance. I've been talking about this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we're right in the middle of it. Okay, so that is really what you should be keying in on, not the price action itself, because yes, we have the inside bar. Yes, there was a buy signal, but you have to be nuts to take that at such a resistance level. Now, if you're experienced or you're a day trader and you want to try to grab a small bite in that and you know how to limit your risk, or you're confident that if things turn the wrong way like they are right now, that you'd be quick to get out instead of indecisive, because this is a bearish pin bar, something you should not see if you are long at a resistance. Okay, a breakout, you get a nice big follow-through kind of candle, right? Like a big green one like this, or like what the NASDAQ is doing right now, not this. Now, the candle is still open, so we can't really make a judgment on it, but we only have a few hours before it closes. Is the candle going to close like that? You're going to get a bearish pin bar in a heavy-duty resistance area. That's why I've been staying away from this stuff, because I don't buy resistance areas. I don't care how optimistic everyone is. I don't care what the experts are saying. I don't care about any of that stuff. The risk does not meet my criteria. If the risk is too high, I stay out. I don't care. I don't chase markets. I have no fear of missing out because there's no such thing. Okay, that's all in our minds. There are always more opportunities. So I want an opportunity that meets my criteria. And in the article that I wrote, I mentioned if you take your focus away from greed and you focus more on capital preservation, it will help you minimize the effects of human nature, because we all suffer from this, okay? This is all built into us. That's why we all have the fear of missing out or the fear of losing. That's just part of what we, the way our minds work. So in order to minimize that, you need to focus more on capital preservation, not profits. That's why I have no interest at these levels. Now, the short side, I also said, is too early. We don't take shorts anyway, but I mentioned for the bears, there's no sell signal. Now there's one potentially. If we take out today's low, tomorrow, in tomorrow's candle, that would actually be a sell signal off of a major resistance. So it's a super aggressive short because you're going against this structure here. But if you're going to do it, that at least you have the candle going your way. And then again, you have to be able to manage your risk carefully in a situation like that. This game is all about risk. And if you don't have a lot of experience, I'm going to tell you what happens. Usually when you take a trade, you say, okay, well, maybe someone said it was a good idea, this and that, whatever. It makes sense to you logically, this and that. So you take the trade, not realizing how bad it can get if it gets bad. And you say, well, I'll get out if it gets bad. But if something moves very quickly on you, what you're likely to do, especially if you don't have very specific criteria or a very specific plan, you're going to go into hope mode, because that is naturally what we like to do. Pain avoidance, also known as hope mode. And hope mode is very expensive. So that's why I always tell people at these prices, you're just better off not getting involved and at least wait, because if you're going to go into hope mode, at least do it in an area where the market is likely to be more favorable, for that, not this situation here. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. The sell signal is now there. The sell setup. It's not a signal yet. The setup is there. If anything, these are prices to be locking in profits, not putting on new risk on the long side. I speak from the swing trade perspective. All right, let's take a look at the NASDAQ real quick, because there's some nonsense going on here. Look at this. Look at this mess. Actually, let me see if I can pull up another chart here. Do I have forex.com? Is that the only one they have? Is there see, there's another one here. US Tech. Okay. Is that the same thing? Hold on a second. I want to pull up, let me just see. Okay, actually the symbol might be US 100. Here, okay. So this is just a cleaner chart. So here's the thing, right? So we have this breakout. And again, in the mainstream news and all of the stuff, if you're the kind of person that likes to consume news because it makes you feel informed, you have to realize that what you're consuming is entertainment. Yes, we have a breakout here, okay? And we have a breakout from a higher low, this support area. That all looks good. The problem with all of this is low volume, okay? So if this was a different time of year, like if this was mid-October, and we saw a move like that, where usually you get the heavy institutional volume comes back, which is what matters, this is meaningless, okay? So my point about this is not a place to be optimistic. This is not a place to be thinking, oh, everything's good, we're just going to keep going higher like we always do. This is a high-risk area. Now, I've been talking about this since 14K, but if I wasn't willing to buy at 14K or 14.5 or 14.8 or 15K breakout, I'm certainly not buying at 15.3. I don't care if this thing runs to 17,000. I am not touching it until it gives me a support level. Now, what I mean by that is stocks, because this is just a reflection of the FANG stocks anyway, really. Many stocks are not doing this good, right? So if you just have a handful of stocks that are driving this market, what happens when the air comes out of those stocks? That's why the risk of retrace is just too high. So buying anything right now for swing trades, unless you're a day trader, or unless you're confident enough that if things turn, like if you get the pin bar like Bitcoin is showing, that you will be confident enough to follow your plan and exit for a small loss and not get caught into hope mode, then this is just not worth taking, right? It's just not worth it. So there are some people, they like to day trade, they like to take aggressive trades, and they're quick enough to get out and minimize that loss. What most people do, especially if you're not very experienced, is you hold on because it always keeps coming back. But as we come out of this month, we're going to enter a higher volume period soon. Now, is this thing going to sell off? We're at all-time highs. There's no sell signal in this thing right now. Someone in our chat room earlier mentioned that he's been short and he's shorting more. And I mean, reward risk wise, that makes sense to me. It's just that there's no sell signal. So this thing may inch a little further, it may not. There's no way to know. And we're going into that Jackson Hole symposium as we close out the week. So I don't know. I don't trust this thing at all. And that's just me. It's an opinion. But why would I buy stocks at all-time highs? If anything, I want to see a support. Like I said, if you're going to take a risk, okay, at least take a risk at a level, even if it's an aggressive level, which is what that is, right? The 14,750 area. If you're going to take a risk, that would be the place to take it, not at the high. That's what my point on this thing. So I hope that makes sense to you. S&P is the same deal, right? This is all just nonsense and hot air. There's no way I'm going for this stuff. I have no faith in this at all. That goes for swing trades, and that goes for investments. All right, you have to be nuts to be investing money at these levels. But again, people don't know any better. They just consume, the information they consume, and they feel safe. But not for me. Day trade, different story. Plenty of opportunities. I'm not talking about day trades here. Let's talk about gold real quick. All right, and then I want to get to your questions. I see people putting questions, so thank you. So look at gold. Now there was a buy signal on gold. What was this, yesterday's candle? We didn't call this, it's hard to call every signal, but you have the inside bar, high or low. Wow, what a buy signal that would have turned out to be if we had called it, but we didn't call it. So here's the thing, gold was in a tough spot to begin with. We talked about this on our podcast the week before. We talked about this area right here on gold, possible resistance, and I was looking for maybe some sort of pullback to a support. We haven't gotten that pullback. It broke a little higher here, right? Now, what is this a result of? Take a look at the dollar index. Dollar index, right? Here's the dollar index. Broke out the other day, Friday, whatever it was. Pretty decisive breakout, kind of like the way the NASDAQ looks right now. And now we have this sharp pullback on the dollar. And that's why you saw like the euro and the pound and everything reversing hard, right? Because you have this pullback on the dollar. But does this chart look bearish to you? It doesn't look bearish to me yet. Yeah, we have a pullback, but we have a series of higher lows, and this thing can easily turn into another higher low, especially in the location that it's at right now. So maybe we get a surprise out of the Jackson Hole Symposium. I don't know. My point is, if this dollar finds support, then where's the market going to go, right? Especially if the dollar makes a higher high. Now, important thing to consider, and I always bring this up, keep an eye on the bond market. Here's the 10-year note. Now, the 10-year note should be, for the dollar to be going lower, right, the 10-year note or the bonds should be going higher, right? That's what's going on here. You have a green candle, right, a green candle today. But here's the thing. That candle is kind of meaningless, right? The bigger picture, look, there's nothing going on. This is the weekly. There's really nothing changing here. There's nothing there. It's indecisive, which again, for me, is an enormous red flag on this stock market. That just tells me that the stock market is full of hot air, especially with that bearish outside bar that we've gotten like 3 weeks ago. Bonds move very slow. You have to be very patient in this environment. That's why I'm not touching anything. Right? I'm not reacting to this at all. This is not exactly a bullish trend for the bonds, right? This could be turning, and the bonds are probably waiting for something. They're probably waiting for a signal from the Fed or something more decisive for this thing to really make more of a decisive move. If that move is lower, the dollar will go up, right? And what is required for something like that to happen? What type of catalyst? Well, the Fed can come out and say, we're going to raise interest rates sooner than we thought. If they say anything like that, again, I can't second guess the Fed or predict what they're going to do or say, right? It doesn't matter how much knowledge I have. It doesn't matter how much logic or how much experience with economics I have and all this other nonsense. I don't know what they're going to do. But if they say something hawkish, meaning they're going to change their schedule, they're going to raise rates sooner, blah, 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 whatever. If they hint anything like that, dollar is going to go higher, okay? And that is what is going to turn the market back and everything else back, gold, everything else. So that's what you have to watch out for. Until they say something like that, then I guess inflation continues, right? That's the story. All right, so those are the 3 markets I wanted to cover. Let me get to your questions here. Let me see, how am I doing with time? Okay, not too bad. I'm a little off, but okay. Let's get to your questions now. And again, thank you for everyone for sharing your questions here in the chats. I'm going to start here with TradingView since I'm simulcasting today. So what do we got? Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, thank you for reminding me here, Jude. If you want to mention what country or what city you're from, it's always just a fun thing for me to see. You can just share it in the chat. Okay, I'm broadcasting from the greater New York City area, northern New Jersey, in case you couldn't tell from my accent. All right, so Malaysia, hey, welcome. All right, Norway, hey, cool. All right, thanks for joining. Hello from Turkey. Okay, being here is always fun and educational. Good, I'm glad you feel that way. Tehran, welcome. Okay, cool. That's a new city. I haven't seen that one in a while. I don't think I've ever seen that one. All right, Soli from Norwegian. This, I remember this guy. Norwegian degenerate, he says. Don't say that. Come on. All right, what else we have here? Okay, from Iran, welcome. Russia, hi, all in Russia. So I think my first Russian from Russia. I never get Russia. Thank you, welcome. Thank you for joining. Cool. Russia in touch. Nice. I'm still waiting for Japan. I don't think I've gotten anyone from Japan yet. All right. Hey, Bart guy sent me 100 coins. Thank you so much. You don't have to send me those coins. I'm not like looking for donations like some of these other guys. But anyway, thank you. I appreciate the gesture. It's very nice of you. Okay, let me see what else we got here. Okay, so we had a couple of questions about Ethereum. So Amit's asking about Ethereum, and also my other chat here, I had a couple of questions from Ethereum. So let's get right into Ethereum. And let me see what we got. So, and again, thank you, Bart guy. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your generosity. So Ethereum against the dollar. Now, look at this thing. Again, tricky, right? It's tricky like Bitcoin. First things first. Let's look at levels and let's look at the bigger picture for a moment, shall we? The bigger picture here is generally bullish, right? That hasn't changed. We've pulled back, right? We found that support. That, obviously that's all there. Now we've rallied hard off of that, right? Recently. Okay, we're all up now. We're up to date where we are. Let's look at the levels that are in play right now. You have a support right there, and you have a resistance right around here somewhere. So what are those numbers? Let's see. So your support is at, what, 29.10 basically? We can round that to 29 even, right? It's always good to just work with the round number. Don't try to be really precise with that. Just round it, 29 even. And your resistance, 25.41. So you could say 25.50. Now, Ethereum is right in the middle of both of those prices. Not a good place. Now, here's the other thing. It's trying to break out, okay? And it's trying to break out of a consolidation. This is a higher low consolidation relative to this structure here. It's a higher low. Okay, fine. So in theory, it should make a higher high, but what if it doesn't? So here's what you have to do in this situation, right? So basically, this thing is strong. We can make plenty of argument that it's strong. Now, does it continue beyond this high is another question. At the moment, look at the candle from yesterday. That's a bullish pin bar. Took out the high of the bullish pin bar. Let me make that big so you can see it. Took out the high of the bullish pin bar, which is a buy signal, and now it's trying to go for the breakout. Okay, still plenty of time before the candle closes, but you have a little tail up here at the moment. Now, again, can't make a judgment too early. This candle may close full. It may close strong, which is possible. And that's what you want to see if you took the breakout. I think Andrew sent out a trade on this. You have a higher low over here, which you can use for a tighter stop, but your chances of getting stopped out in such a situation are high because you are in a consolidation, and a failed breakout is very possible, as we see with Bitcoin. Remember, Ethereum is not exactly the leader, although maybe one day it will become a leader, and I know it's up there on the list, right? Number 2, but look at Bitcoin. If Bitcoin pulls back, if this pin bar sticks, and we see a couple of 1,000-point pullback as the week unfolds, Ethereum's not going anywhere, right? That's what you have to watch. So when you're looking at these altcoin charts, always refer back to Bitcoin as your main guide. Just like when we look at stocks, the first thing we ask is, how well is it correlated to the S&P? Because that's going to be a big factor, right? Unless it's a stock that's not very correlated, then it trades on its own, okay, fine. But these altcoins do not trade on their own. It's very temporary when they do. Okay, so that's what you have to watch out for. So you're at a resistance, right? This is a resistance, and Bitcoin is beginning to fail. That's all you need to know. So if you're long in this situation, you need to be prepared to adjust. Perhaps you have to take a small loss. If this next candle on Ethereum turns red, right? If you get like a red candle over here, something like that, you should probably, I'm just giving you an idea here, right? Don't hold me to it. But it would probably be a good idea to make an adjustment or limit your risk. What you should avoid is hope mode, because if there is a more serious pullback, right, this is your real support here, right, this area here, which is what, like I said, the 29.50 area. Maybe you want to round out to 3 even. This thing gets taken out, you're going to have problems, especially if you're in hope mode. So that's why it's usually better to take that loss early and quickly if this thing does not follow through, if you're betting on the breakout. If you're long from lower prices, then you just let this thing do its thing, right? Because you have the luxury to do that, you're a strong hand. See if it breaks. If it fails to break, perhaps you take a little more profit off the table just to be on the safe side. That's what I really have to say about Ethereum. But again, Bitcoin is the guide, and Bitcoin is at the 50K resistance area, which is a heavy-duty resistance. The structure has not changed yet. We're just getting a potential sell signal. If the overall structure changes, you're going to see supports break. And then if the supports break, I want to be more prepared at the next set of supports, right? Which on something like Ethereum is around 26 area. This area right here, this is your next set of supports right around there. And I'd be much more interested there, right? Probability is much more favorable at such a location. All right, so I hope that answers your question on Ethereum. Thank you for asking. I had a couple of people ask about that, so I got both of them there. All right, let me see what else we got here. All right, so that was Ethereum. ADA. All right, I've been seeing a lot of hype on ADA. Let's take a look. ADA, USDT, a lot of YouTube hype. Oh, I can see why. I've been seeing videos. ADA is the next blah blah blah. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. Okay, so this thing right now it's up 6.8%, and it's up what is that? 18 cents. Okay. So again, levels. We've been talking about ADA. In fact, someone had asked me from the week before about this area right here. And I said, you know, it's a tough spot because what if it doesn't follow through? Well, you got the follow through. All right. So just because you're at a resistance doesn't mean it's going to turn there again. Although you can see there was an attempt, right? I mean, look at the pin bars. There was an attempt. There was some hesitation there. So in this type of situation, and Bitcoin showed a similar pattern yesterday, these two little continuation candles, and you have to be willing to take that chance if you're going for something like this. This could have easily failed. So what do you do now? Well, you know, if you're not in this, You can't chase this because at any moment this thing can turn. That's the problem, and especially with signs of Bitcoin. So right now we can say ADA is doing its own thing. Okay, fine, it wants to do its own thing because Bitcoin is kind of turning and this thing is still pretty strong, right? I don't see any sell signal here. But with Bitcoin in the process of potentially turning, you should hopefully be taking something off the table. If you're in from this area, if you managed to buy that breakout, definitely I would take something off the table. Or if you bought this breakout, or if you're in from much lower prices, you always want to be in the habit of taking something off the table when these things go vertical like this, right? This is the herd mentality. When it gets to this point and it's just straight up like that, this is the herd mentality because you know what is likely to come next. Something like this, all right? You don't want to get caught in that. So where can that be? Let's see. Let's look back on Cardano. Do I have any other levels? No, those are all-time highs, right, on Cardano. Okay, fine. So really bad place to be buying tons of it and taking a lot of risk. You have to wait for a pullback if you've missed it and you want to get involved. Where would be a reasonable pullback? Well, at this point, the old resistance area, which is going to be right around here, okay? Not exactly this high, right? You only have a couple of tails up there. It's going to be a little bit more relative to what's going on here with this price action. You could see the attempt at selling over here. And that's what, $2.28 around there. So that's a more attractive area. Again, this thing's at 288, so it can easily pull back that 50 cents. So if you're not in it, why not wait, right? Why not wait to see get a pullback? Why buy the high? Again, if you're tempted by something like this, or if you're like, well, screw this guy, it keeps going higher and he keeps telling me not to buy it, well, then you suffer from the fear of missing out because, yeah, you may get that random reward, you know, sometimes when it makes this little extra run, but the problem is over time, you're going to get caught. Right? Believe me when I tell you, you will get caught. Oh, I'm having problems with TradingView, it looks like here. TradingView is giving me a hard time. All right, sorry about the signal. Let me see if I can fix that. Hold on, I'm going to try to fix that. I'm not getting any error messages, but I'm going to try something here because every time TradingView gives me this problem. Okay, just hold on a second. Let me just try this. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to try. I turned off the TradingView stream. I'm going to turn it back on. Sorry about that. If this thing doesn't work after I turn the stream on, then I'm just going to leave it alone. Okay, hold on. I know I have to do technical work while I'm in the middle of a stream, right? All right, turning that back on. And let's see how that goes. Okay, so I'll let that pick up. Let me see what else I got in my other chat. Okay, so XRP. Let's get to it. XRP USD. I don't know why TradingView kicks me off like that. Maybe they just don't like me. So XRP. Now look at XRP compared to something like ADA. Obviously, I have a line drawn on this chart because people have asked about it before. Notice the price action around this line, right? I think this is when we were doing the Seinfeld impression. I was like, look at this resistance, right? So it's still stuck there, and you're getting the bearish pin bar. With this type of price action still fooling around in a resistance, that's not what you want to see. That's definitely not a breakout, and you're getting some more failure on top of it. So it's acting relatively weak, especially in the face of Bitcoin or something like Ethereum or something like ADA that's pushing all-time highs. This thing is not. So, you know, you have to be very cautious with something like that. Now, it's possible that this thing consolidates inside of this range right here, which is what? Range low is $1.05. Range high is $1.34. It's possible that you gyrate around that level. Just because we're getting some reversal activity here doesn't mean we're going into a bearish trend, right? That's an important distinction. So something to keep in mind. If you're in some of this, not a bad place to reduce risk further. Otherwise, wait for a test of support. Perhaps you get a range low support and you get a buying opportunity somewhere around here. I'd want to see something similar from Bitcoin, okay? I really want to see something similar. Let me just try refreshing this. Maybe that'll help too. Okay, so, all right, cool. All right, so thanks for asking about XRP. I hope that helps. Hey, Will, good to see you from Australia. It's got to be like 4 a.m. over there. You have to give Will some props. All right, what do you think of SLP, a UK stock? Okay, let's take a look. SLP, and let me see here. Out from, I guess it's on the, here we go. All right, let's take a look. Ooh, this one's, talk about one that's getting beat up. That's interesting. So let's look back a bit. And what I can tell you, just looking for this, first thing we want to see the broader structure. Okay, bullish. Recent structure is not bullish. All right, you have this corrective structure here. I'm not going to call that a bearish trend because it hasn't corrected the full structure here, but it is, the momentum is certainly not bullish. Now, also, you took out this support area right here, which is not good. Okay, I mean, it's not, I should say, it's not a bullish argument, and you're pushing these lows. So for something like this, while you are getting at more attractive prices, a couple of things you want to ask are, well, where's the next support? Your next support is right about there, all right, based on this back here, which is what? What price is this? This is around 82, I guess, pounds. Is this thing in pounds? Yeah, it's in pounds. So around 82 pounds, around there, it would be your support. As you can see, it's trying to give you a little bit of a bounce attempt there with that little tail in the candle, but it's too early. There's no buy signal. So I would let this thing stabilize a bit. Or if you want to be more aggressive, at least wait for a bullish pin bar, maybe an inside bar, and a break of one of these highs. Like today's high, 90 pounds, right? Let that break. But keep in mind, you are up against this resistance. That old support may give you a hard time. So you have to be prepared for something like that, right? The more conservative thing to do in a situation like this is let it bounce, right? Without doing anything about it, let it bounce, let it find that resistance, let it pull back, and then let it fail to make a new low. Once it does all that, yeah, you missed a bunch of action, but who cares, right? You want to get back in when structure is improving. Maybe this thing touches that resistance and retests the low, and maybe you get a double bottom, which at that point, hey, at least you can argue there's a potential double bottom. You could measure your risk and be a little more confident in terms of the probability. So I would just hold off on something like that until you can get that type of stability on such a chart. Yes, it takes time, it requires patience, but why step in front of this thing if this thing is looking like that? Occasionally, stepping in front of it may work. If you look back, you'll say, oh, I could have stepped in front of it right here. Right, but it's very tricky because there's no way to know if you're going to get one of these. Look at this move over here. Could have stepped in front of it right here, right, expecting the same type of thing. Oh, this thing's going to go vertical, and it goes vertical the wrong way on you, right? That's the random nature of the market. So that's why it really pays to wait for stability and higher quality trades. Okay, how am I doing here on TradingView? Am I getting any? I got no one watching me on TradingView. Am I streaming on here? Yeah, it looks like I'm streaming. TradingView people, let me know what's going on. Let me know if you guys can still hear me. Let me know if there's something in the channel. Let me know, because I don't see anything going on there. Okay. U.S. oil. Okay, cool. Just let me know if the sound stops or something. Just let me know. Okay, so that was SL, right? SLP. Thanks for asking. Okay, Nita, what is a good level to buy ADA? Okay, I covered that. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks, TradingView. All right, so Nita, I went over ADA. Hey, cool, Mario. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. What else we got here? Okay, just going through the chat. Still on ADA. Do you have a few pointers? I see rejection. Okay, so Andre here is asking about taking profit on ADA. He asked about ADA a while back, right? Maybe about a week ago. He was in from a great price, right? What did I tell you, Andre? I said maybe take a little something off the table and let it ride, because at that, even when we spoke about this, there was really no reason to get out, right? So what a great trade. You're holding on to this thing, and at this point, I mean, all I can tell you is, hey, you want to take a little more off the table to capitalize on the herd while they're there, willing to take it off your hands? Go for it. Take a little off. When you're in a situation like this, when you're at all-time highs and you have no historical price action as a reference, look at the whole numbers, right? Your next whole number is $3 on this thing. So, and at this point, there is no sell signal on ADA. Now we're seeing it begin to develop on Bitcoin, which may turn this thing around, but $3 would be your next inflection point because it's a whole number, and it's often a psychological anchor for the herd. So it may get near there. As you can see, there's a little bit of selling activity with that tail. that's all I can tell you with that. But technically, there's no sell signal here. Doesn't mean you won't get a big red candle tomorrow or as the week unfolds, but there's no sell signal yet. So you have to decide how aggressive you want to be. Obviously, you're a strong hand. You're in from a really low price. So just like I said, when I see these situations, it just never hurts to lock in something and then see where it wants to go from there. Once you get the sell signal, right, that may show up like a red pin bar, kind of like this one back here, and it takes out the low. Perhaps at that point, you get out of the rest of it. But you have to keep in mind, just because you get a sell signal doesn't mean it's going to pull all the way back. It can. So you have to decide how you want to manage that and how much you want to take off at that point. But if at this moment, just let it run, right? Until at least you get a good reason, a compelling reason to make an adjustment, right? That's letting your winner run. So thanks for mentioning, and nice trade, very nice. Okay, can you please check SAND USDT? Oh, from India. Okay, let's take a look. SAND USDT. Welcome. All right, so this is SAND against Tether. And so here's the situation here. Again, keep in mind, these coins, occasionally you get these coins that start to do their own thing, I guess depending on how much hype they get. But from a technical standpoint, I'm going to assume, because I'm not very familiar with this coin, I'm going to assume that it's following Bitcoin. Obviously, you must have asked about it before, or someone asked about it, because I have some annotations on my chart here. You have this consolidation that it's in, okay? This range, you see the range, and it's still inside the range. So there's no breakout here, all right? You have an inside bar. This may turn into a buy signal. If it takes out the high of this inside bar, you may have a buy signal and a consolidation breakout, but you're going to need a leader to follow through with you, right? If you're going to get follow through, unless this thing is going to go do its own thing. But you have to, I think it's safer to assume that most of these coins don't do their own thing, right? You just get an occasional one, and getting one that does its own thing and being in it for like a big move is like a lottery ticket. I think that's the safer way to think about these things, because it will at least keep your expectations in check rather than following the nonsense that you see in these YouTube videos. So that's what I'd say here. You're in the middle of this range. Maybe it breaks out above the high of the range, or maybe it goes back to the low part of the range at 55 cents. There's nothing to do here. If you're not in it, I wouldn't do anything now. If you're in it, then, I mean, at least it's worth giving it a try, giving it a chance to try to break that range high. The range high at the moment is, what is that price? 72 cents. So if you get something like that and this thing starts testing its highs, that's what you want to see. And you do have, structurally, this is a bullish structure, okay? This entire structure is bullish, and this consolidation is a broad high or low. So you do have those things in your favor. So if you are long, it's worth giving it a try. If you're not long, you want to take that breakout, your risk is going to be really measured from this range low. And you have to decide if that's a risk worth taking or not, depending on your account size and the type of position you want to put on in that type of situation. I speak from the swing trade perspective, just to be clear. All right, so thanks for asking. All right, let me jump over to the other chat. All right, so let me see what we got here. Just going back. All right, because I know I had a little interruption here with this TradingView stream, but I think I fixed it. All right, so can you check XRP? Okay, we took a look. I hope that answered your question about XRP. Hey, we got Maverick from South Africa. How about, okay, so Dow 30, S&P 500, and NASDAQ 100. So once I complete the stream, you can go back, and I talk about the NASDAQ 100 at the early portion of the stream, because I always cover that market very closely. Like I said, with those, if you're not in a stock, or if you're not in one of those CFDs or whatever from a low price, this is not the place to be getting involved. I mean, you're buying a potential peak of peaks, right? The risk of retrace is very high. Again, that's an opinion, but the thing is, I like to buy supports in strong markets. I don't like to buy highs, because not only is the risk of retrace very high, but there's a psychological barrier or psychological obstacle that occurs that may not realize. When you buy a high and you get that, like I was talking about, you get a fake out of some kind, and you're not prepared for something like that, you're likely to go into hope mode. And that's another reason where you start to second guess, and it's a function of experience. But that's why I tell people, avoid buying the high just so you can avoid all that mess. That's what leads to getting caught on the wrong side and taking a larger than expected loss, because you stay in it hoping that it comes back. And there'll be the one time when it doesn't come back. We haven't seen that in a long time, but you don't want to be caught in it the one time that it shows you something like that, okay? So that's why you're better off, if you're going to do it at a level that at least probability is on your side rather than against you, which right now, that's what it is at these highs. And people say, well, why not short it? There's no reason to short either. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing, and waiting for an opportunity to align. Like I wrote in my TradingView article yesterday, high quality opportunities are not frequent. They're not found every day, at least not on the swing trade time frame. Day trade is a different story. I'm not talking about day trades, but on the swing trade time frame, high quality opportunities are a lot less frequent. Maybe you get a couple a week, maybe something like that. So that's why you can't jump onto every little thing, especially if you're thinking bigger picture, which is what I'm going over here. And I'm talking from the bigger picture perspective. If you're interested in day trades, I'm not covering that here. It's a completely different reward risk structure. So anyway, but thank you for asking about that. We got, hey, Peter from Slovakia, welcome. Cool. Thank you for joining me again. All right, so Sincere, ADA is pretty much trading on its own. It could be. Again, I saw a bunch of hype videos about it on YouTube. When I see the hype videos popping, all right, here we go. ADA is going to be at 5,000 by next week. You better buy it before you miss out. And there's always a picture of some guy on there, with like a I can't believe I made all this money kind of face. It's ridiculous. Anyway, all right. I just hope you're not getting lured by that stuff, but someone is. That's what's sad. Let's see. Hey, we got C. Breyer from Boise. Hey, welcome. Any thoughts on CRSP? Cool. That's a good question. It's a stock. Let's take a look. CRSP. Let's take a look at it. So this is a biotech stock or whatever, one of those types. And these stocks, what we like about these is they tend to trade on their own more. Although today this thing's up pretty good, 8 points, right, with a very strong stock market. But often these things are driven by their own news and stuff like that, their own catalysts, which means you could work with their charts a little bit more because it doesn't really matter what the S&P is doing, right, a lot of times. So what do I think about this? Well, let's take a look at the levels. So you're coming off of a triple bottom here, right? Look at this support right here. You're coming off of that, and this thing is now closing in a few minutes, 8 points higher off that low. This is not exactly the best spot to be taking that risk, right? The best spot would have been the break of yesterday or Friday's high, which this started out slightly higher than that earlier today. Now, if you're getting into this thing, you're chasing it, right? I mean, it's still, unless you're willing to risk, let's see, 115 is the low, and unless you're willing to risk 10 points, which might be, still reasonable for a stock like this, but still, why would you buy into a vertical candle? So that's what I think about this. You're near a support level, but the move is on its way and you're taking more risk. The more important question is, what is the potential on something like this, right? What if you bought this thing right now? What can it go to if you're risking 10 points? Let's assume that you're doing that. So you have this level right here, which is what, 136.23? And so you're looking at maybe 1-to-1 reward risk, right? If you bought it right now and you put your stop 10 points lower, right? That's just over 10 points. And it's within reason to get there, right? So you have to, with stocks like this or swing trades in general, you need to justify the risk you take. So you shouldn't be doing less than 1-to-1 reward risk. You have all kinds of people on here with all kinds of magical strategies, and a lot of them will say, well, you need to get 2-to-1, you need to get 3-to-1, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, sure, that's good advice. You should be, but you're not always going to get 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. And if you wait for that, sometimes you give back everything you got. So for us, it's like, look, if you could reach 1-to-1, you've justified your risk. You should start taking something off the table. So my thing is, I always look, how hard is it for this thing to reach 1-to-1? And this is still within reason because it's the middle of the range, okay? If 1-to-1 was much higher or whatever, because let's say this thing was, let's say this thing was another 5 points higher, and now you're risking 15 points of risk, then your reward risk would no longer make sense at all. All right, so that's what I have to say about that. You have to use the middle of the range as a reasonable reference as far as profit targets go. It doesn't mean it's going to turn right around there, but that's a good place to get out of some because others are going to be doing the same thing. As you can see, they've done it a number of times before. Can it reach this high up here? Anything is possible, but you can't depend on that. That's 169. It's possible, but it may have a lot of noise along the way and all that other stuff. And you want to be a strong hand in that situation if you're going to give it that chance. That's why you need to at least get out of some around 1-to-1 or a little bit more than that. I hope that makes sense. Thank you for asking about that. Okay. We have BGBIO. It's a stock. Oh, 5 letters. It's probably a penny stock. Let's see. BGBIO. How much is this thing? Okay, no, it's $22. Let's take a look back here. So here's the thing. General trend, right? Or actually, I should say general structure. It's interesting because it's been consolidating or has more of a bearish look. I'm not going to call this a bearish trend because it's not exactly a bearish trend. It hasn't taken out these lows from way back here. Has not taken out those lows, right? Going back, a few months. So it's an interesting location for sure. You have a potential higher low. Look at this. Right at the gap low. See this gap from way back? Look where price is finding support. Do you think that that is a coincidence? It's not a coincidence. All right. Usually gaps can act as support or resistance levels. There are reasons for that, right? There are order flow reasons for that. So not a bad location. I'll give you that. Now, as far as this support goes, let's see. You've touched it a few times. Now, okay, you have look at this candle that you have today. So that's not exactly the candle you want to see now, okay? Because that's a bearish pin bar in a location where, now it's at a support, so I wouldn't say that this thing is going to, be bearish as a result of that. It may find, the support may stick. So I wouldn't short something like this. What you want to wait for in this situation is see if this thing breaks slightly lower and reverses back up. See if you can get an inside bar or something, because your risk is going to be defined for a swing trade long at 22 even, it looks like. Is that the price there? Let's see, 22 even. And this thing right now is at 22.24. So wait for a better structure, or a better candle, I should say, because you do have the structure. It's consolidating and you're near the range low. Wait for a better candle, measure your risk from 22, and then you're looking for the range high, which is what, 24.50? So if you can get away with risking $1, $1.50 off of such a range low, something like that, and you're grabbing $2 at the range high, that's worthwhile. And if it breaks the range high, which is also a possibility, now you have a nicer trade on your hands. Okay, so it's not a bad idea. I would just wait for a little bit more. I'd wait for a better candle to develop instead of buying into this, which may possibly break. Okay, so thank you for asking. That's a good question. All right, let me jump over to the other chat. Okay, so went over sand. Okay, Bart, let's see, from Uruguay. Hey, welcome. Can you take a look at BAND? Sure. So BAND USD. This is the coin. Now, here's the thing. Something like BAND, this, I'm not very impressed with this because, I mean, compare it to something like ADA. ADA is, they're throwing a party there, right, on ADA. They think that's going to be the next, Ethereum or whatever they think that is. This is trying, right? It's tried. It's got the higher low, made the higher high. You're getting an inside candle, which looks like a little mini bearish pin bar, and it's occurring at this resistance area right here, okay? Kind of like it coincides with the 50K on Bitcoin. So not a good location for a new long, definitely not. If you're in from a lower price, this is a good place to reduce risk, just like with Bitcoin, lock in some profits or something. We don't short these things, so that wouldn't even be a consideration. But if you're not long and you would like to get into something like this, well, you want to look for support, right? And the next support right now, really, it's around here. There's like a kind of a range. You have this price over here, which is what? Let me see. That's around the $7.30 area, something like that. So you want to wait for something like that, see if it gives it to you. I mean, you're basically, what is that? $2.50 away from that. So that's one possibility. The other possibility would be around here, this old resistance, which is what, $8.98, so around 9 even, somewhere around there would be another support to consider. Again, to get involved in something like this, for swing trades, these aren't the best choices. You have to take obviously larger positions because these things are moving, 14 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents. They're not moving $10 at a time, right? So obviously you have to take larger positions or use more leverage to make anything significant. And before you do something like that, you have to make sure that you have the account to sustain that kind of risk, right? You shouldn't be taking a large position with $1,000 in your account and using leverage. You should not be doing something like that. So those would be your levels. I'm not a big fan of these for swing trades. I'd rather, if I'm going to take a swing trade in something like this, I'd rather just do it in Ethereum or do it something like in Bitcoin, something like that, right? Rather than these altcoins that move 20 cents here and 20 cents there. These are probably more appropriate for position trades or building inventory. And I don't like that idea either with most of these, because when the party is over again on these, you know how that's going to go, right? And these are not high quality assets, although some people may argue otherwise. I have yet to see any evidence that these are high quality assets, comparable to like a stock that pays dividends and that basically is an industry leader. These are all speculative coins. So just a few things to keep in mind. So thank you for asking about Band. I hope you found that helpful. Let me jump over to the other chat. So I went over BGBIO. Hello from New Zealand. New Zealand? Really? Wow. Welcome. Would your count be valid if Bitcoin were to retest 12K breakout region? My count? Are you referring to my wave count? Well, as far as wave count goes, I was looking at like, what was it? I think 30K or possibly 20K as the range, as the wave 4 range low. And if anything, right now we're near a range high. So it's hard to say. I can't really say anything about 12K. Is 12K a support? Yes, it is a support because that was a resistance. 15K was also, or 14K was also an important resistance back, over a year ago. So those are going to act as supports going forward. But will we go back to those levels? It's hard to believe that we will. So that's why I don't get opinionated by that stuff, or I'm not going to let like a wave count convince me that we're going to pull back to something like that. A lot of people do that and they make predictions. This thing will be at 12K by next 6 months and blah, 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 right? Can't do that. Things change. The environment changes. New catalysts come into play that were not taken into account previously and stuff like that. We may not touch 30K again, or maybe we do. I don't know. I don't have an opinion. So all I can tell you is we have support around 30K right now, or 28.5, and we have resistance at 50K. The market needs to break one of those levels. It's trying to break 50K. It needs to break one of those levels, and then I can adjust, right? And that's what I have to do. I have no opinions with this stuff because, again, opinions only get you into trouble. So thanks for asking. Is there a good mod in here? Is there a mod in here? Okay, maybe, I don't know if Mara's referring to a moderator, but okay. U.S. oil, let's take a look. Oil, USD, WTI. No one really asks me about oil. So oil, is this the right chart on oil? Yeah, this chart will work. So oil obviously is going to be affected by the dollar, right? And the dollar, we saw that pullback on the dollar. Now, oil has been weakening recently, which is interesting because oil has been one of the things that have been holding the S&P up. And you have this old support, right, which broke, which may act as a resistance. Now, look at today's candle on oil. That's a pretty solid bullish candle. And people are going to, oh, yeah, oil. Hey, oil's another long. But I don't trust this thing at all. Just because we have a large green candle, it's nice, but the risk is high. If you buy this thing right now, if you're interested in an oil long, you are coming off of a support, right? I'll give you that. And the same goes for the euro. The same goes for the pound. They were all at support levels, and the dollar had to do what it's doing, pull back, all right? Now, the dollar, though, is not exactly in a bearish trend. That is what you have to keep in mind. So if the dollar resumes that bigger picture bullish structure, which it's trying to establish, this is just going to turn right around. So that's the risk you need to be prepared for if you're interested in a long. Now, how much money or how many points would you have to risk if you take something like this long, on the break of this high? You're looking at 65.97, so 66 even. The low is 61.72. So you're looking at like what, 6 points or something like that? And you need to make 6 points. And would that be the resistance up in here? 70, 65, 70, just about. You need to go up here, just about, right? To basically justify your risk up in that area there. Is that possible? it's possible, but you have to keep an eye on that dollar, right? Because like I said, if the dollar does not pull back, this thing is going to reverse back in everyone's face. So something to keep in mind. I personally would not take this long. I'd rather wait for a bearish signal to set up and then try to short it. That's what I would do with something like this. And the reason why is because you have lower highs established here, right? And I'd be looking for another lower high. You've also broken a support. And strong markets typically don't break supports. And this one's broken. So do we get another lower high for an attempt at a lower low? If it double bottoms, that's a different story. Then I would be open to a long. But until we have that, I would be open to the short side on something like this, okay? There's no signal here at the moment, and it's not at the best level, although it's sort of getting there, right? Again, dollar dependent. You're in the range, but I'd like to see a bearish candle develop or something. So I hope that gives you some clarity on oil. All right, so thank you for asking. Let me see what else I go ahead. I'm seeing you. Good video. Okay, cool. Okay. So, all right, great quality. I'm watching G from TV. Okay, cool. Still watching. From Holland, welcome. Okay, sound is good. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the feedback, everyone. Thank you, guys. Okay, cool. Yeah, I had to reset my stream there. All right, so let me jump over to the other chat. Let me see what else we got here. So, just going through the chat. The scammer. Would you mind explain why taking the high or low wick of the previous candle translates into a buy or sell signal? It's someone like breaking a range. Okay, that's an interesting question. So would you mind explain why taking a high or low wick of the previous candle? Well, a high or low wick, let me see, can I find one? Let's see, is Bitcoin showing one? Let me see. All right, well, so we have some wicks in here. It's not the wick. It's not the tail of the candle that's important. It's the range, okay? So like, for example, we have a pin bar here. It's really, the pin bar just tells us that it started out one way and it gave it back, which is a sign of something. In this case, a sign that the buying activity was not sustainable, which means there must be a large amount of sell orders in this area, which, you know, have piled into this thing and absorbed whoever was buying it, right? That's all that really tells us. But how far will that go? There's no way to know. So as far as answering the question about the tail, it's not the tail. Like I said, it's when it comes to a buy or sell signal, it's the range. So often we talk about inside bars. It's not, if the inside bar could be a candle with two tails on it, right? An upper tail and a lower tail. The tails don't matter. It's the range. So the range, the high the candle or low candle, that's really what we're looking for there. Now, it's just a point of reference. So it's somewhat like breaking range. Yeah, so right, scammer, you got it right. It's like breaking the high or low of a smaller time frame. Yes, that's basically what's technically going on. It's just when you're looking at the daily candle, that number, that price happens to be much more meaningful on a daily candle rather than like a 30-minute candle. So thanks for asking about that. Let me see what else we got. Okay, I got a few more minutes. I'm going to cut this out just slightly earlier today than usual. I'm trying to get to as many questions as I can. If I missed your question, I apologize. But let me see what else I got here. So Julio, hey Julio from London. What do you think about Ford? Let's take a look. Ford, F. I remember when F was like the effing thing. Everyone was like, Ford, buy Ford, right? Look at this. Look at this. I'm not making fun of anyone here, but this is why I don't buy highs, okay? Cardano, right? Anyway, so what do I think of Ford now? Look, these lines were on my chart previously. Look where it is. An old support, right? Resistance break, now a new support. I'm sorry, I said old support. I meant old resistance. Look where we are. So Ford is at an interest, at a point of interest. That's a good start. That's the first point, right? That's the first part of a trade idea. Now the next thing is, what about the price action, right? And you have a pin bar. Look at yesterday's candle, bullish pin bar, took out the high of the pin bar, which means you got the buy signal today, and it's just kind of giving you that doji. So here's the thing with something like Ford. While that is a buy signal, and you can measure your risk from that pin bar low, 1239. So basically, what is it, 12 and a quarter? Yeah, 12 and a quarter. And this thing right now is at 1272. So you're looking at about 50 cents of risk. It's not horrible. I think it's within reason to make 50 cents or more if this thing can run back up to this resistance here, which is what, 13.66, so about $1 higher. All right, that's greater than 1-to-1, possibly 2-to-1. Reward risk is within reason. What you need to consider with Ford, because Ford tends to be more of a market stock, why is Ford acting like this with the S&P and NASDAQ on their highs, right? Especially or the industrials, the Dow. They're all doing very well. This thing should be doing much better, right? If people are buying cars, blah, 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 all that economic stuff, why isn't this thing up here with the market so strong? That's a red flag. This is acting relatively weak. So if the market really pulls back, which we have not gotten yet, where is this thing going to go? Notice we had a pullback, a few days ago, whatever it was, right? Thursday, early, the market, the NASDAQ was at 14,750. Look where this thing was. It was getting hammered with the market. So that's what you have to watch out for. This thing should be doing better than it's doing. I don't like the relative weakness. So while it is at a point of interest, you have to decide if you want to take that chance with something like this. And in this environment, it wouldn't fit my criteria. Okay, so I hope that helps. I hope that answers your question. Thanks for asking about Ford. All right, let me jump over to the chat. Let me see how we're doing over here. So I got from Lithuania, hey, welcome, UMA, USDT. Let's take a look. UMA, USDT. Let's take a look. All right, so this one, now look at this. I could see why some people may have some interest in this. You have this bottom, this pattern over here, right? It's like a round bottom. Okay, that's nice. You have resistance, though, right in this area right here. And notice where it's coming off. Okay, so I know what people focus on in these situations is they don't look back here. They look at this. And, it's strong. Right, it's strong. I want to buy it. Right, and that's the same with Bitcoin. Why I refuse to get involved with that Bitcoin, I'm against it because of this location. I look ahead. I don't look behind. And I don't like the risk. So this thing is acting more like that. You also have an inside bar. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the previous candle is an inside bar. See that? Inside bar. And if the current candle takes out that low, or the current candle closes and takes out its low tomorrow, you're looking at a sell signal. And I would be looking for supports on this thing. And your next support is right around there. Right? What is that? What price is that? $11, right around there. And this thing right now is at $13.78. So you have some room to play with. I would just hold off and wait. I mean, you can argue that there's some support here, $13.14, right? $13.14. But, if you're looking for a new trade, I would wait. If you're in a trade, you should take something off the table with the price action looking like this. I mean, that is definitely a warning of some kind there, okay? There's no way to know how far it will pull back. Will it hold up at 13 or will it break 13 and go much lower? There's no way to know. We have to see how price acts when it gets there, right? And the idea is, do you want to take that risk? So if you're in some, it doesn't hurt to lock something in and reduce risk until you can get a new buy signal, at least. Now, I would be expecting, if this thing shows you a buy signal, I'd be expecting Bitcoin and or Ethereum to also be giving you a buy signal or something similar. All right, so thanks for asking. Any thoughts on CHWY? Okay. Oh, cool. I appreciate that. All right, so Rakus has two questions. All right, so Rakus, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer one. I want to try to answer a few more questions. So I'm sorry if I can't answer the second one. I just want to get to other people. So here's Chewy, and here's the thing here. So recent price structure is definitely bullish. No question about that. Current price action, right? Inside bar, off of a higher low support. That's a great choice for a swing trade. I mean, this fits the criteria. Like if I saw something like this and we were doing a show, I would look to call this as trade of the week, right? This would definitely be one that we'd look at because you have everything lined up. Now, something like this, if you take out the inside bar high tomorrow, which is 189.20, meaning it goes to like 189.50, it's good to give it a little room. Your risk is going to be defined by 80. I'm sorry, did I say 189? I meant 89. I can't see today. 89. And the low is 86.30. That's where you have to define your risk from. So you're looking at about 3 points of risk, maybe slightly higher. You need to make 3 points in something like this, which you know, it's within reason if this thing can start testing these higher levels. Now, you do have a higher low, so if it sticks, theoretically, a higher high is within reason. The stock market is strong. I don't know how correlated this thing is, but you know, with the stock market on its highs, you do have to be careful. So you do have the setup here in these situations. Like this would be like an aggressive trade, because what if the NASDAQ gives back the 500 points that it's climbed since Friday, right? What if it gives it back? Is this thing going to break the support? So you need to put a stop and respect that stop, or if you see signs of that developing and you don't want to take the risk, get out early and take the smaller loss. That's the kind of quickness you need to have on something like this. But while at the same time giving it enough room to maybe play a little bit, because you don't want to churn either. You don't want to overreact, right? So it's a very tricky thing, and that's why you have to be on top of it. You have to babysit a situation like this because of that stock market situation. Now, just to give you a comparison, if the stock market, if you saw this signal, what you see on this chart right now, if you saw this on Thursday, early Thursday AM, and then Friday it took it out, that's a different story. You know why? The NASDAQ was doing the same thing, and you're buying off the low of the NASDAQ, and as the NASDAQ would go to new highs, I'd be expecting this to do better than what it's doing now, but you get the idea, right? That's the idea of relative strength. So we don't exactly have that here. We have a NASDAQ on its all-time highs, and this thing just starting to get going. So it doesn't mean that it won't go. It's just you need to be prepared in case it does not go. And there's a good chance that it may fake out. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So thanks for asking about that. Okay, Moose, harmonic patterns in day time frame and hourly time frames, useful or applicable? Okay, good question. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. A couple more minutes. I'm going to answer that question. And let me see what I have in my other chat here. I'm going to answer one more question from my other chat, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Okay, let me just see where I am in the chat. So Ford, Ethereum, and ADA, I went over those. From Spain, hey, David, just go back earlier in my stream. You'll find those. Hey, Cenk, good to see you. From Vienna, thanks for joining. XRP, Baxina, I went over that earlier. Just go through the stream. From Switzerland, Monica, welcome. Shout out from Romania. Hey, I got my Romanians. Where's Schwartz? Schwartz is my Romanian representative. I have my whole family of fans in Romania. Okay, South Africa, cool. All right, so I have a DOGE question here. Okay, Wedge, no, I didn't really rant today. And BTT. Okay, so here's what I'll do. I'll go over DOGE, BTT, and then I have a question here about harmonic patterns. I want to get to that because that's an important question. So are they applicable? Harmonic patterns are random, like anything else. So there are some people that like to, harmonic this, harmonic that. They're very complicated. And they're really, in my opinion, I've worked with them. I've tried to work with them. They're not necessary because you can arrive at the same conclusion with a lot less work and a lot less complexity, right? I mean, because you see a pattern develop and then things have to line up at a certain price, and then you're supposed to take, like, for example, you'll have something called like a BAT or AB equals CD or whatever. And when the pattern completes, you're supposed to take the other side of the trade, right? So if it's a bearish ABCD, or whatever, then it's basically you're at a high and you're supposed to short that and blah, blah, blah. But it's random. It's highly random. You can't use them alone, especially. You need a lot of things to confirm them. So why get involved in all that? Less is more in this game. Find a simpler way. All you need are support and resistance levels, and you'll get the same outcome, okay? So that's really from my experience with those. There are some adjustments to some that may offer some higher probability locations, but they're not the standard patterns that you get. Like when you look up harmonic patterns, they're not the standard ones that everyone tries to go by. So just a couple of points on that. Thank you for asking about those. All right, so let me go over Dogecoin. I know that's a very popular coin. Let me see, DOGE USD. Let's take a look real quick. So Dogecoin, again, big hype coin. Look at this consolidation. So just like some of the other coins we looked at, you have a higher low consolidation here. Alone, if we just judged this on a technical basis by itself, the structure is generally bullish. You have a bullish move previous to it, right? Higher lows and higher highs. And now you have this consolidation, which can turn into a trend continuation pattern. That's what it's trying to turn out to be. So you may have a breakout on something like this. And if you're interested in this and you want to go for the breakout, that would be the strategy. What is that high? 34 cents basically, or 35 cents would be the breakout, but you're going to have to put your stop at the range low at basically 27 cents or 28 cents. All right. Now, something like this, right? Look, you have a bearish pin bar in the process of developing, but you're right in the middle of the range. So it doesn't really mean anything. Bitcoin and Ethereum still lead something like this. Also, yes, like I made all those bullish arguments, but look where you're hesitating. That's an old support, new resistance, and you are hesitating there. So there's a lot of conflict. You have some things that say, okay, not bad if it breaks out, or you have some things that say, hey, be careful because this thing can break lower. For something like this, because this is like a heavily hyped coin, if you get the breakout and you're aggressive and you're willing to take that risk, then you might as well try to play the herd mentality game, right? Try to take that breakout and see what you can get from it. It's super aggressive. You're going to need Bitcoin and Ethereum to go your way also. Otherwise, I would leave it alone. Okay, just don't touch this thing, because if the broader market, meaning Bitcoin, turns and pulls back, this thing is probably going to break those supports, right? And why would you want to be caught in that? Look at this, that range low is right off of the support here, which is that 28-cent area. That's actually a support. So if it breaks that, then it may find a much lower support here, which actually coincides, this price right here, 21 cents, coincides with Bitcoin at 35K. Now, I don't know if it's going to match exactly. Like, will this thing go to 21 cents if Bitcoin goes to 40K? I don't know. But those are your levels to keep in mind where buying activity can reassert itself, especially if you have the broader market in your favor. Okay, so that's Dogecoin. Thanks for asking. Let me take a look at BTT real quick, and then I'm going to wrap this up again. I really appreciate everyone's questions. What is BTT? BTT against the dollar. Is that the right symbol? Let me just make sure. Okay, USDT. That's T. Okay. All right, it's the same chart. Okay. So, BitTorrent. So here's the thing. It looks very similar to Dogecoin. Similar situation. We have a consolidation, right, which can be a continuation pattern. All of these structures, how many coins are showing the same structure? It looks like Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin double bottomed at 30K, right, just like this. And Bitcoin rallied to 50K, just like that. Right? And now Bitcoin's hesitating a bit at that 50K area, while these things are all kind of hesitating a bit. So again, you're in that situation. It's a higher low. It's a broader higher low. If you want to play this game, I would play the breakout strategy in this case, because if it stays stuck in this consolidation, which is at a resistance level, right, then what if it doesn't break higher? You're going to get stuck in this thing. And remember, half the people that are taking these trades in this consolidation, half of them are going to be wrong. Which half, we don't know. If it breaks higher, anyone that's shorting this is going to get squeezed, right? So that's why you'd go for the breakout. I'm not a breakout trader, but I'm just telling you, like, that's the strategy I would consider rather than trying to buy like a little mini high or low inside this tight range. Otherwise, if the longs are wrong, like if it breaks out and fails, then you're going to have all the longs banging it out. And, that's when you take out these supports. And Bitcoin or Ethereum will have to be doing something similar. So that's what you have to watch. But the general structure, if we're just going to judge this chart on its own, the general structure is bullish and you have a continuation pattern developing, right? That's why it's worth trying to give the breakout a chance. But like I said before with some of those other breakout ideas, if you go for the breakout and it fails right away, kind of like what Bitcoin is doing, right? Let's go back to Bitcoin before I wrap this up. If you go for the breakout, right? Bitcoin went for the breakout with these two little candles here. It went for the breakout. But this is not what follow through looks like. Okay? That's not what follow through looks like. Follow through is a solid green candle, right? So this has a few hours before it closes. I don't think we're going to get that solid green candle. Now, maybe the next candle makes up for it. I don't know. But you don't want to see this. So my point is, if you get into one of those consolidation breakouts and the first thing it gives you is this, you need to keep a close eye on it, and you need to be prepared to bang it out if the thing continues lower. What you must avoid is getting caught in hope mode, and it's very easy to get caught in hope mode because you're like, it'll come back. It's just noise. It'll come back. It'll come back. It'll come back. And there's going to be one time where it doesn't come back. I mean, just ask all those people that bought it at the February high or March high or whatever, and it pulled back for a few months and never really came back, right? And now they're starting to come back a bit. So you don't want to get caught in that, because then it becomes you're at the mercy of the market, and then your emotions take over, and you're going to bang it out at the bottom. And that's what you want to avoid. Right now, the market sucks. This sucks. This game is rigged. Blah, 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 blah. Right? We blame everything else. But it's really the emotional complexity and the layers of emotion that you have to now wrestle with because you got it at a bad price to begin with. Right? That's why you wait for good prices. It's just easier. It's just hard to wait. Right? That's what everyone has a hard time doing. Anyway, so I just wanted to give you those comparisons. And that's pretty much it. I have to wrap this up now. I want to thank everyone. If I missed your question, I see a lot of questions here in TradingView. I apologize. I couldn't answer those questions. I'm new. Don't understand what's an inside bar. Okay, you're going to have to just Google it. Just Google inside bar. Google stock trade candlestick inside bar. And that'll explain. It's just an inside candle, right? Current candle is inside the range of the previous candle. Lots of information on it. Just Google it. Anyway, thank you all for your great questions and all of your participation. And for some of the coins, I got the devil. Oh, gave me 100 coins. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That was very nice of you. So again, you don't have to give me coins. All right. So like I said, I have to wrap this up now. Thank you all very much for your participation. I simulcast on Mondays, right, in a couple of places. So you can find me on TradingView. You can find me, wherever else. And also during the week, you can find me there too. Again, I apologize if I missed your question. Just come to my next stream or whatever and just ask me again. Okay, so thank you all wherever you are located in the world. Enjoy the rest of your day or the rest of your evening, and thank you for watching.